good con.
Rose? All their sticks are outside.
If you guys are upset with anybody, it's the mayor. The rest of us are with you, 100%.
And so it begins, Counselor Cheney, and so it begins. I mean, one of those nights.
I didn't want you to feel lonely.
Always lowers anyway. Down to the floor.
Katie, do you still need a minute?
I think so.
Sure.
Should we tell them this is on TV?
How are you?
Good, how are you?
Not many of these left for you.
Stephen? How are you?
Got a lot of work to do before the day.
The hour being 7:08 p.m. on Monday, November 13th. I'd like to call to order the City of Laconia City Council meeting. Before we go any further, though, I'd ask Councilor Haynes if he could lead all of us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Councilor Haynes. We're joined this evening
Thank you, Mayor.
by Katie Gargano, who is serving as our recording secretary this evening. Ask her to please call the roll.
Counselor Cheney,
Here?
Counselor Susie,
Here.
Counselor Littman,
Here.
Counselor Haynes,
Here.
Counselor Bogert,
Here.
Counselor Felch,
Here.
Mayor Hosmer.
Here. We're also joined at council table by Kirk Biotti, our city manager, and Glenn Smith, the finance director. Following along on our agenda, the first item tonight is a council proclamation for our friends, the New England Wolves. I'd ask if maybe the captains could come on up, and we'll do the presentation right out front here, and then maybe we can get a quick photo with the team right up here. That okay? How you doing?
Good,
Andrew, good to see you.
Hey,
Nice to see you. All right, guys, you ready for this?
Yep.
It's a long one. Not that long. If you guys didn't do so much, you wouldn't go so long. It's a proclamation for the New England Wolves, whereas the New England Wolves are an organization dedicated to the development of student athletes through competitive ice hockey. Whereas the Eastern Hockey League, playing out of the Marifay Arena in Laconia, is a franchise that has never had a losing season. You feel that pressure? Their EHL and Premier teams are coached by Tim Coons and Andrew Trimble, whereas the New England Wolves have established a standard and tradition of community service. To date, their John Bradley Thompson game has raised $150,000 for the Starts Now Foundation to combat childhood cancer. Whereas several of the New England Wolves games have benefited the following: the Salvation Army food drive, First Responders Weekend to benefit the Laconia Fire Department, the Wounded Warrior Project, and the New Hampshire Humane Society. Whereas the New England Wolves' hard work and commitment have contributed to the Congregational Church, the Pumpkin Festival, Christmas Village, Wild Trail Cleanup, the Pond Hockey Tournament, Multicultural Day, and the countless hours that each Wolves player has given to the Lakes Youth Hockey Association, providing instruction and assistance, is remarkable. Whereas New England Wolves' efforts have been rewarded, as their organization has been the recipient of the Eastern Hockey League's coveted Community Service Award since 2020. And in 2022, they were awarded the Spirit of New Hampshire Award. Whereas the organization's tradition continues as well in the ice. The Wolves were named the 2018-2019 EHL Premier Champions. And in 2022, the U16 team represented Laconia and the entire state of New Hampshire in the Nationals, held in Buffalo, New York. Whereas many Wolves players have gone on to commit to Division I and Division III colleges and universities to continue their education as student athletes and to fulfill their dreams of playing college hockey. Some Wolves players have skated here in Laconia, have gone on to pursue their careers as professional athletes. And whereas the Laconia City Council, along with the families and friends of the New England Wolves, would like to express our sincere appreciation for the accomplishment accomplishments the New England Wolves players and their coaching staff have made for themselves, their organization, and our community. Now therefore, I, Andrew J. Hosmer, Mayor of the City of Laconia, do hereby proclaim Monday, November 13th, 2023, as New England Wolves Appreciation Day, and urge all citizens to join with the City Council in recognition and recognizing their outstanding achievements and contributions. Signed by myself, Andrew J. Hosmer. Around here, but maybe a photo would be cool. If you like, come on up. Come on, hey, come on. Let's see how much we can get in.
Sardine game.
Somebody's got to do that.
Stand up.
Yeah, huh?
I don't think they're gonna see us. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, right?
Good idea.
That's the farm teams. How many family members came with you guys? Andrew, can you get a shot of this, or still?
Bob, back here. You're tall. Bob.
Read the back of Mark.
Bob, over here. You're tall in the back.
No, maybe a little shorter. So it's fatter. Good. Thanks, guys.
Thanks.
I think I want some mac and cheese. I had trouble.
One second.
Different levels.
Like 11 of them.
Much less after those guys.
No, it was different.
Some of those boys are big boys. Yep.
Pointing out to the manager.
Thanks, Mark.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on to our agenda now. Look at that, there are two people left in here.
Some people
Oh,
standing.
Coming in.
There's some people standing. There's some people standing.
Just point out Representative Nagel is here.
Yeah, we're just chatting when he's gonna come to say hello.
We're gonna have to elect a taller mayor.
Look at that, give me a box to stand up on, like,
We're talking about, maybe you could stand on the desk.
I could do that, or maybe just get some high-heeled cowboy boots like one of
In all
those guys is
seriousness,
using
we
now.
probably ought to think about that for future things to. Don't you think his head is big enough? He said that, I didn't say it.
All right.
Holy smokes.
Round two.
Second seating.
Well, I suppose that's one way of looking at it.
Yeah. I'd like to let you know, I am over a chest cold. I did not have COVID, nor have RSV. I have a chest cold, so don't want you to be
Oh,
backing
is-
away too far.
That stuff is going around. Everything's going around.
All right.
Like Katie's at, Plymouth House, everybody there got it. Shame.
Moving on to agenda item number 7, acceptance of minutes from previous meetings. Minutes of the Laconia City Council meeting of October 23rd, 2023 were distributed to the members of the City Council. On November 8th, 2023, with no corrections or changes submitted to the clerk, the minutes will be accepted as distributed. Agenda item 8, under consent and action items. Item 8A, recommendations for appointments to boards and commissions. I want to thank the Committee on Appointments and Boards for overseeing this work. The Appointments Subcommittee met on November 8th, 2023, and interviewed candidates for appointment or reappointment to the city's boards and commissions. The Appointments Subcommittee strongly recommends the appointment or reappointment of the following individuals for the terms shown. Marcia Hayward, reappointment as a regular member of the Zoning Board of Adjustment to a 3-year term expiring at the end of August 2026. James Ole Anderson, appointed as a regular member of the Trustees of the Trust Funds to a 3-year term expiring at the end of March 2026. Charlie St. Clair, reappointment as a regular member of the Planning Board to a 3-year term expiring at the end of June 2026. Right now, I'll be looking for a motion to approve the appointment or reappointment of candidates to the city's boards and commissions as presented and as recommended by the Appointments Subcommittee. So made by Councilor Susie, seconded by Councilor Cheney. Is there any further discussion on this matter before we vote? Thank you again for your work on this. All those in favor, please raise your hand. That's 6 votes in the affirmative. That motion passes. Thank you. Thank you to everyone who stepped up and their willingness to continue serving the city of Laconia. Moving on to agenda item number 9, which is citizen comments for matters not on the agenda. If we could have a little discretion, if I may have the discretion, I know we're joined this evening by Representative Nagel, who is here. I'd love to have him step up. I've been encouraging him to come to the city council meeting when he has a moment in his busy schedule, and we got him here just after you retired. Well, went from full-time. So I certainly want to welcome you to the Laconia City Council. So if you'd like to introduce yourself to the folks that you don't know, maybe talk a little bit about the work you're doing and give us an update, that'd be great.
Sure. Thanks for having me. I've wanted to do this for a long time, but unfortunately I still was working, and Mondays don't work out well for me. And finally, as of 3 days ago, I'm part-time. So I just wanted to let you know a little bit about who I am, why I chose to take on this $100 a year job, and what I really would like to see us accomplish while I'm there. The good mayor has been involved with one of my committees since the inception that I created, and I'm really psyched that he's there and happy that he thinks that it's important. So this, and Mr. Lippman also, are you have official title, commissioner or whatever?
No, I'm just Medicaid director.
Oh, Medicaid director, MD, you're an MD. Yeah, I just have really enjoyed getting to meet a lot of people in this. But anyways, I'm a physician. I've practiced in New Hampshire for about 35 years. I came here originally to start a head injury program at Easter Seals. Why that didn't happen is a long story, but my specialty is physical medicine and rehabilitation, and part of my job is to treat people with complex disabilities. I learned very early in my career that people's lives don't live in a doctor's office. I'm sure most of you have a life outside your doctor's office. So I learned very early on, if I didn't affect things outside the office, everything I did inside had no value. So I've been advocating for the rights of people with disabilities my whole life. I started becoming very involved in pain care policy about, it's getting close to 40 years now, when I realized that we were stigmatizing an extremely large group of people that believed they were suffering alone. So I actually started something I was very proud of when I came to New Hampshire. I started a community-based comprehensive integrative pain program. I think it's a model for what we should be doing in this country, and I was rewarded with that in about 2003 by being told that those services were no longer required, that they really didn't reimburse very well, and they really wanted me to do something else that did reimburse well. I got extremely upset about that, needless to say, and when I get ticked off, that's a better word than the word I want to use, I start writing. And I wrote a whole bunch of short stories that I wanted to put together, and I had no intention other than ventilating. It turned out I shared them with somebody that said, you need to publish this. You're speaking for us. She was somebody with chronic pain. So I did. I put it together, tried to figure out how to put it together. I decided to do it as a public policy book, because based on the whole story of the Good Samaritan. What do we do right? What do we do wrong? Why do we walk to the other side of the road instead of help people in need, and what through creative public policy can we do better? The book was entitled Needless Suffering. It took me 13 years to publish it. And then after I published it, my whole life changed. Now all of a sudden, people all over the world know me. My book's been sold on 4 continents, and I found out that what I was saying for the U.S. is not unique to the U.S. It covers the entire planet. I've also come to understand that healthcare reform and our healthcare system is going in the wrong direction. This is actually, I just happened to find this article. It's called, "Is Our Healthcare System Broken?" And the reality is we all know it is. It's really problematic, and I just taken on this need to try to save our healthcare system from itself. Because of the book, I decided that I really needed to get more involved. I created 2 nonprofits that look at, it's funny, you had a bunch of athletes here earlier. One of my nonprofits looks at athletic participation, decisions, and pain. We work with everywhere from peewees all the way up to professional athletes. I'm going in 3 weeks to meet with the players on injured reserve in the NFL. And I've worked with the NFL for 7 years creating their pain care policy. I also created another nonprofit to stand up for the rights of people in pain. And as part of that, we started creating legislation. In the midst of all of that, somebody said that you have virtually no power out there, you should be in here. And I said, where's in here mean? And they said, you should run for office. And I said, I don't know about that. So I went home and asked the boss, and she said, no. So I didn't. And then when certain things happened in the county, I know you're all aware of Gunstock, but there were also issues with the nursing home, and I'm on the board of 9 nursing homes. So nursing homes are very important to me. And when I found out that things there weren't the best, my wife, I didn't ask her, she told me to run, so I did. So I've been your rep for part of Laconia, which we still haven't figured out which ward number it is. Does any, so it is 2. That's what I thought, and I wasn't sure because I thought it was 5, but I'm yours, yeah. But I've been doing this for a year now, and my goals are basically, number 1 is to bring attention to the plight of people with disabilities. I've actually written all the state's opioid policies over the last 30 years, so to call to mind the needs of people in pain, which is something like 70 million people, it's not a small number, to bring common sense to the opioid crisis, because frankly there is none right now, to try to save access to health care, to try to improve access to care for people with challenges in rural environments, to preserve primary practice, all those kinds of things. Those things are all have always been really important to me. So I got on the HHS-EA committee, Health and Human Service Elderly Affairs, which really means a lot to me. I'm also the vice chair of the Opioid Abatement Commission. I created the Integrative Care Committee. We are trying to create models of integrative care, meaning putting together different groups of people to work to solve complex problems in a meaningful, cost-effective manner. Nobody in the country is doing this well without a lot of funding. Everybody in the country is watching us. So it's a really exciting time for me. That's what I know a lot about. If you want me to talk about healthcare policy, I'm a great guy to talk to. If you want to talk to me about money, don't. That's why Representative Boger's here, because he knows more about being frugal than I do. But that's my big thing. I also realize that I do represent you. There's a lot of really big, tough healthcare issues these days. We heard 2 of them today on gender-related things and things like that. That's kind of where I'm at right now. I'm open to any questions, comments, thoughts, but I do want to open up a line of communication if you ever need anything or have any questions or whatever. Thank you for your time. I think I kept it to 3
Representative Nagel,
minutes.
once again, thanks so much for making time. Does anyone have any questions for Representative Nagel? Seeing none.
Thanks.
But I want to just let everyone know, here, I have an opportunity to see Representative Nagel on a regular basis in Concord and watch the work and witness the work that he does. It is incredible work, and we are very fortunate to have someone who is thoughtful, caring, compassionate, empathetic, who works on a very complex subject matter. I know Councilor Lippman is certainly involved in it as well. So I just want to say on behalf of myself, thank you very much.
I really appreciate that. You made me cry. I just really appreciate the honor to represent everybody here. It's like a huge honor, and on this gender thing, I just got like something like 300 emails, and you want to respond to every one of them, but it's like so hard, and you realize people think a lot about this stuff, and it's so nice to know that the American experiment is still very much alive, and I'm really proud to be part of it. So thanks again.
Thanks, Doc.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, and if you need anything, let me know.
Okay.
Still on agenda item number 9, which is citizen comments for matters not on the agenda. So if there's anyone here who'd like to speak to a matter, come right up.
I represent,
Come right up and stand right in front of the microphone. Make sure to pull the microphone down just a hair and introduce yourself.
I'm Carol Nordquist. I have been working on the polls for the last 6 years with Mark, but I live in Briarcrest, and we've come up with a dilemma. They've built a new development below us, and now they have taken over Old Prescott Road. We have no way to get in, no way to get out on the lower end. It's become a nightmare for, we have 400 and some odd houses in Briarcrest. So that means we've got a lot of people, plus the fact there are several houses on Old Prescott Road. The traffic right now is unbelievable because they closed the road to fix it. I don't know who's responsible, but why didn't we get notified this was going to happen? Because it's affected 400 families to use this one exit, to make it convenient, to come to Laconia instead of going to Belmont. But I have brought people here today with that concerns, the way they have done the road right now. Plows cannot go through it, trucks cannot go through it, a school bus cannot go through it and has to come halfway down the wrong way that it used to come to bring the kids to pick them up. It has to go all the way up, back down, pick the kid up, then back into our street to get back out onto 106. It's really a nightmare and it needs to be addressed, and why weren't we notified? We need to know who's responsible and try to fix it for everybody.
Carol, thank you. Stay right there. Maybe somebody has a question for you, I'm not sure. But first of all, thank you for working at the polls all those years, and I really appreciate that.
Well, I hope to become moderator too.
Gonna keep it.
Next, so I think all of us sitting up here are just getting up to speed as to what's going on in that area as a result of this development. We're in the process of doing some research to find out when this was approved, who voted on it, and right now, the best we can tell, it goes back 15 years? Almost 15 years that this was voted on. So I agree with you. A road like this, everybody should be notified that, because it's a significant impact. So had we known about this from 15 years ago and it was pending out there, I'd like to think that we would have been proactive in letting you know and making sure that it made sense.
And
But
another thing too, Briarcrest changed hands about 15 years ago, so there again, if you've got newer butters, we needed to be notified.
sure. Well, I can tell you right now, this is researching, and I know this may not be satisfactory in the short term for you, but we're trying to research the records and find out what type of public hearing took place, what type of vote took place, whether it was a planning board or the city council. There may be a number of things that went on that we just can't identify right now, but we're working on it because it's had a huge impact, and I think you deserve to be notified, and we need to make sure that when this is done, it's done correctly.
Okay.
Thank you.
Does everybody agree? Or
I'm going to speak real
Joe,
briefly.
go right ahead.
Thank you, Carol.
Yep.
Hi, my name is Joe Schillinger. I live at 522 Darby Drive in Briarcrest. And as Carol said, we have 241 homes in there and another 12 or 15 on Old Prescott Hill Road. What they've done is trying to make it out only on the northern end, but closer to the bypass, and one lane's supposed to go north, the other lane's supposed to go south. They did the intersection, they didn't put any signs up. My wife had to make numerous calls to the state, to the city, to everybody to try and get some signs up because people kept turning in there. Even after they put up the do not enter signs, people kept turning in there. We almost saw a couple of accidents where someone was trying to come out, someone coming in stops in the middle of the northbound lane on 106, and it was almost an accident. From the research that my wife has done, we understand that this was something that Brady Sullivan was instructed to do because of their development off the bypass. But I highly doubt that the 12 or 15 homes that they put in there are greatly impacting the amount of traffic that goes in and out of that lower end upper end of Prescott Hill Road, Old Prescott Hill Road. So, yeah, we'd very much appreciate it if the city could look into this and maybe find some kind of remedy. As Carol said, I highly doubt a plow can get through there because you've taken 2 lanes and you've put one here and one here, but they've put a island in between the 2. So I looked at it, and if a plow gets through there, good luck to them. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Joe. I appreciate it.
Mayor,
You go right
if I
ahead.
might. What upsets me is that 2 years ago, when I met with the residents back in, it was 2 years ago in October, I was told by the planning director at the time there were not going to be any changes because Brady Sullivan hadn't completed that yet, and they were still working on some of the units. And I was told by the planning director, who is no longer with us, that don't worry, there's no changes, everything's going to stay the same. And the other thing I'm concerned about, directing traffic onto Prescott Road from behind Breeze Line, that road is in serious need of repairs.
Yes, it is. It's very bad.
And I'm
Actually, I did speak to somebody on work for the street department, and he said, I wouldn't drive a plow up in that way. The road needs to be redone. Also, the lighting on that road is very dim, because now that the people have to come in that way, I had 2 women complain because they couldn't see the road to where the road was going. They were used to going out the easy way for themselves.
And I'm
The other
also,
thing
if I,
too, that park, they only have one exit. Why didn't they have another exit to 107? These people are stuck there.
you're right.
What if there's an accident? What if there's a fire? They're stuck there. So it's another thought.
Thank you, Carol.
Mayor, if I just might add, the other thing I'm concerned about, having looked at that, is that in case of an emergency, especially fire equipment, I don't think a fire truck could get in there now, the way that is. So, in case of an emergency, I'd hate to think they have to go all the way up, almost to the lights in Belmont, to come back down Prescott Road. So, it's a serious situation.
Kirk, are you able to maybe just address what next steps the city's going to take to sort of look into this and see if we can't find a resolution?
Yeah, absolutely. We've been reviewing any approvals that have come through. We're working on this up until the meeting started today with pulling these information. I think we're finding some good information. Now it's connecting all the dots that happened, like the mayor said, over a decade ago. So not that we don't have the records, we just got to pull them all together. We're going to take that with your concerns and work on, first, an answer, and second, all of us together, some type of resolution. But right now, we're just trying to find out all the answers so we can connect the dots as to why we're at this point so quickly.
Once we do that, it just seems to me that it sounds to me like it's a somewhat dangerous situation there, with the possibility of accidents, and never mind plows, which will start up soon enough. Hopefully we can just have a follow-up. And Carol, is it possible, who might be a good contact person if the city is making some headway and maybe has discovered some things, to make sure that you get all the information in a timely manner?
Gail is our treasurer.
Gail, could you leave your contact information with the city manager? So that you'll be the contact person, and that way we'll push everything through you. But
We do have a president, but Gail being on the board, I think that she could, because she's been here, she could pass that on.
sure. Come right up.
Hi.
Welcome.
I'm Roxanne Aruda, and I live in Briarcrest as well, 708 Canton Drive. And I've also participated with our election. I did want to add to the story a little bit that they are routing people in off of 106 into Belmont up near the Irving Station. There's, currently, there's stop signs there, but when you're actually heading toward Laconia and you pull in, you have to stop because there's a car passing through to get onto Old Prescott Hill. People can get rear-ended. So there's like, both entrances
thought
at
of
this
that.
point are safety hazards. And It's just that that's already been there, and now we've got additional traffic coming up Old Prescott, because now they've shut 106 off completely to the lower entrance of Old Prescott. They closed the road. There's no egress out anymore. They just put up a road closed sign. And, you know, the lighting at night, and I actually have seen people that were thinking, oh, I can still turn in there, and they can't. But in addition to it now, we're routing all of this traffic, 248 homes, plus another 15 or 20 that they put in, all into this area up near the gas station.
Yep, right, sure.
Or that, you know, and now we've got stop signs that are channeling the traffic as well. I just knew that there was nothing mentioned, but that's a Belmont area anyways. That end of Old Prescott Hill Road is partially is Belmont. So I just wanted to add.
Thank you, Roxanne. Anyone else like to speak to this matter? Come right up.
I'm Bob LeBrie. I live in Briarcrest also.
Hi, Bob.
My main concern, we've been there for 1 year. And I think if we would have known what was happening, probably wouldn't have gone to Briarcrest. But my main concern is most of the people who live in Briarcrest are elderly, like myself. And ambulances, fire trucks, all that stuff is going to be much harder to get to us. And it could be, by delaying coming to us, somebody not making it. So please look at this seriously, especially having to go all the way up. And like she said, even by the Irwin gas station, it's dangerous. So the whole package doesn't make sense whatsoever. Thank you.
Thank you, Bob. Thank you. Thanks for talking to me. Anyone else like to speak to either this matter or any other matter they'd like to address that's not on tonight's agenda? Residents of Briarcrest, thanks very much for coming. I'm sorry you find yourself in this situation. Let's see if we can't shed some light on it and take some corrective actions if possible, okay? Thanks.
If I may, I
Yeah.
just want to thank
Come.
Councilman Hayes.
Oh, sure.
I'm Gil Schillinger, 533 Darby, but I spent a whole day.
Step right up, come on. That's good. We're gonna put you right on the record here. You're gonna be on TV. He's gonna need this for his next campaign.
I just want to
Right.
thank Councilman Hayes. I spent almost a whole day calling everybody. I spoke with DPW, I spoke with the Department of Transportation. I attempted to speak to Brady Sullivan, and that was an experience. They don't tell you who they are. They answer the telephone and they say, hello, and you have to ask them if you reach them. So it was and I finally found the councilman who listened and immediately came out, and things started to happen to our benefit. So I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, anyone else? We'll move on to another agenda item? Thanks. Okay, moving on to agenda item number 13, which is public hearings. Agenda item 13A, Resolution 2023-31, public hearing, declaring city-owned property at tax map 407/247/35 as surplus property. Notice of this public hearing was made available in the October 25th, 2023 edition of the Laconia Daily Sun, posted at Laconia City Hall, Laconia Community Center, Laconia Public Library, and the offices of the SAU. Action on this item this evening may be taken up under unfinished business later on this evening. I'd like to open the public hearing at 7:41 p.m. If anyone would like to speak to this matter, now would be the appropriate time.
I'm assuming that's us. Okay. Hi, I'm Suzanne Demers from Community Action. I am the Director of Elder Services.
And I am Heather Jubert. I am the new program manager at the Laconia Senior Center.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for seeing us tonight. So I have met with a couple of you at our Laconia Senior Center and had asked for some funding for our kitchen, our commercial kitchen that we are trying to remodel into a, am I at the right, everybody's shaking their head.
This was the public hearing on Woodland Avenue.
I think you're the next. It's
Look at the next one.
It's the next item.
Stay right there.
Stay
Stay right there.
Stay right
If there anyone else like to speak to the public matter in regards to surplus property? I'm going to close the public hearing at 7:42 PM. I'm going to go to item number 14, A, which is the Laconia Senior Center presentation.
Okay.
And this is what we can anticipate. Suzanne Demers, Director of Elder Services of the Community Action Program for Belknap, Merrimack Counties, will provide the City Council with a presentation. The topics covered will be who is served by the Laconia Senior Center, why the center serves them, the outcome for the residents of the Laconia community, and how they plan to stay in their current location for many years to come. So welcome again, Mr. Demers.
Thank you so much.
Happens to the best
Mayor.
of us.
I apologize, in a hurry to get done and not waste your time and get out of here. So I just want to let you know that Community Action, in the 5 years that I've worked there, has made a diligent effort to move all of our services into a location that best serves the people of this area. And so our area center that has our food pantry, our outreach for homelessness, has been up on Route 106, where the Head Start is, little out of geographical range for some of the people that they're serving. So about 5 years ago, I started looking for a building downtown to move my senior center and found the slot between the Whiskey Barrel and Sawyer's Jeweler. I know it's no longer Sawyer's Jeweler, but in our brains, we all know where I'm talking about. So that's the size of the lot that Community Action Belknap Merrimack owns. And what we've done is have a senior center there, and then we took what was the driving school, and that is where our commercial kitchen is. If you haven't seen it, I'm willing to tour you. Actually, Heather will tour you. She can show you anytime you'd like.
I think some of us have been there.
Yeah, that's right. You have. And you can come for lunch anytime you'd like. We'd love to serve you.
You might regret making that offer with some of these guys.
I'm okay with that. We like to feed people.
Right, Councilor Cheney?
Some of us are qualified to go to the senior center.
Well, I have a new chef, and has anyone eaten his food here? Yeah, it's pretty good. You came and had lunch.
Oh, that was it? That was the new
Yes.
chef then? Yeah, absolutely.
Your chef.
It was
And
delicious, very good.
Yep.
You've had his food. It's very good, right? So you're welcome anytime. So the reason why I'm talking about the block is because on December 1st, the area center is going to be moving the food pantry, fuel and electric, and that'll be where the old bridal shop was. And then the homeless program has moved out. The homeless outreach staff have moved down where the CPA person was, and that little caveat, so they're there. And then we have the senior center, and then we have the place that was the driving school that we're trying to renovate into a kitchen. The estimate is $300,000. I have been working with Bonnet Page and Stone on this. They have done parts of it that I have raised funds through grants, through bank donations, through bake sales, through chili sales. We do yard sales. We do anything and everything we can to raise some funds for this. So let me give you some information about our last fiscal year. So we also operate Meals on Wheels out of that location. And last year, we served 61,695 meals to 402 people within Laconia. And then for Congress, that's when people come to the center to eat, we serve 3,129 meals to 176, only 1 day a week. That's all our food license allows. It's called like a caterer. Like I could bring food in and feed you all tonight, and that's under my catering license, okay? That's all I can have right now in Laconia because of the way that the kitchen is. I have to gut it, and I have to make it a commercial kitchen in order for us to serve 5 days a week. It has to be inspected and everything under that. So that's why we need to do that. Let me give you some reference numbers as to 2018, 2019, when we were down here on 17 Church Street and had a full kitchen. We served 10,915 meals to 200 people. So you can see where we absolutely can feed more people. The people right now that are coming to the senior center say that they would eat there if we were providing 5 days a week. They need it not only for the nutrition, but they need it for the socialization. Studies and research shows that when older adults who are isolated, when their spouse and they're living by themselves, will eat more of a nutritious meal when they're eating it with others. It's a psychological thing, believe it or not. So that's important to us because some of them don't have meals at night and don't have meals on the weekends. So that's our story. What are your questions?
I will, let me just say, having visited and had a meal there, thanks for the work that you do. I'm glad you mentioned just the socialization, because it seems to me those folks that we saw in the afternoon we went there wasn't so much the great food, it was a bit of camaraderie and socializing and laughs, and you know, I can imagine that's incredibly important to the lives of seniors who, so many of them are too isolated. So thank you for the work that you both do there, and it's important work and needs to be done. So, any questions from the council here? So let me just, you're looking to raise $300,000.
I met with our CFO just before I came here, and we ran the numbers on how much money I have raised through grants and begging and bake sales and you name it. We're about, I thought it was 150,000. We've only raised about 78,000. So we continue the good fight.
So 300 less the 78.
Correct.
Okay, to bring that total ask down.
Correct. Yep.
220 grand.
So
That's 222.
the goal is for us to not only be able to feed the seniors, but I have future visions on what we're going to do with this. Is that we're going to look at a variety of different opportunities on how we can partner with schools and be more of a intergenerational. I'm looking at also changing all of our senior centers' names. We are looking to be more open and having more populations be able to use our space. You've seen our space. If you haven't, it's very large, and Heather has a ton of ideas. She has a physical therapy background, so there's a lot of new things that are going to be happening at the center. We're talking exercise classes. We're talking more entertainment. We're just a variety, maybe a comedy show. Who knows? I just did a murder mystery dinner.
You could just have them
last
come to the
weekend.
council. Sorry.
Stand-up comedy, you're hired. What questions do you have for us that we might be able to answer?
Go right ahead.
You do have plans to make this a commercial kitchen so that you can go to the 7 days, and that's what the 300,000 goal is to make that achievement?
Yes, it has to be a commercial kitchen for 5 days a week. The food licensing, I've tried everything in my powers to persuade, talk to, negotiate. I've read through their regs. I've tried everything. I said, can I cater 5 days a week? And she looked at me like, are you crazy? No. So you have to think of it as any restaurant that you go to. We are held by the same standards.
Okay.
Yep, unfortunately.
Can you tell me the time frame that you hope to have this done by?
Well, let's see. We moved in there in 2020, so it's 3 years now, and I'm still chipping away at it. So I think that one of the things one of our participants said to me is, I'd like to see that kitchen done before I pass away. And, you know, she came to me a couple weeks ago saying, I'm not feeling so well.
Okay.
A little guilt.
Yeah.
I swallowed that hard. But yes.
Counselor Susie.
Yes, sir. You don't charge these people anything, do you?
No, that is correct. So the way that we are funded, I'm sorry, I did a lot of assumptions and I shouldn't have done that. So the way we are funded is we're funded through several different ways. One of them is, our biggest one is our state contract. Through the federal government gives the money to the state. The state then splits out this funding under Title III and Title 20. I'm not going to go into all that. It's way too complicated. But they split it out based on each county, and it's based on your census per capita. And so we're billed for that, and we bill $8.11 for the meal. It used to be 1075. My food costs have gone up 75%. My supplies have gone up 25. Last count of last quarter when I did the budget. So as you can see, things keep rising. So the cost for me is more like around $14 to $15. So we have what's called a suggested donation, and it's $3 per meal. Anyone can come in and have free. There's an envelope. If you can put money in it, great. If you can't, that's okay. We're still going to feed you.
One question then, if you go to 5 days a week, you're able to, you'll build a state agency or whatever that money's, because you must get money from the food bank and all those, food from the food banks and that kind of stuff.
No, we purchase from the regular food supplies that any restaurant would. We do work with Glean, so that we can get some of that. That helps us with our budget and stuff.
What's Glean?
Oh, Glean is the farmers that the portion of what they have left over on their farms or whatever,
Okay.
they bring it to our centers, into our kitchen. So that's helpful. A lot of it we can dole out and give it right to our participants. So we're giving them fresh fruits and vegetables, which is very important to have healthy meals. So the funding is through the state, and then the county. I write a county grant, and we have donations, and I do write a lot of grants too. And then the city of Laconia also gives me some funding.
Are you set up to receive private contributions, not just in the envelopes, but of, sizable?
Oh, yes, I am. And I'll meet with anyone who would like to talk with me one-on-one on their give. I worked for the Red Cross.
Okay. Any other questions? Suzanne, again, thank you for the work that you and Heather do and your whole team does. This is good information. I'm sure it'll be a topic of discussion within the council, with the city manager going forward, and keep the lines of communication open. Certainly.
You're welcome to come have lunch anytime you'd like to.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Bye. Welcome. Agenda item number 14B. Stephen Hamilton from the Whitney Consulting Group, an update on property valuations.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. I have a brief update for you on the results of our property assessment valuation update. Is that better? Sound like it's on.
I guess it just doesn't sound like it was coming through.
How about now? That's better?
Yep.
I don't always work well with a microphone, but, so this year, I suppose the best news that we have for residents is that the increase in values is not nearly as dramatic as it had been in the prior year.
I got one. I'm good. Thank you.
In 2023, we see an increase of about 15% across all of the classes of property. There is a typo on the first page that indicates that the highest increase was in residential condominiums, which it's not. The highest increase was in manufactured housing units or mobile home units at 39%. But more or less, everything else fell into a pretty narrow range of increase. There were two classes of property where the total value went down, but only because the number of properties in those categories decreased. One of those was the vacant residential lots. So unimproved residential land, which is being developed into residential dwelling units, they're being converted into additional dwelling units. And commercial, industrial, unimproved land went down in the category as well, because there were a number of improvements and developments that occurred. And so overall, the total value of the city, including utilities, went from 3.475 billion to $4 billion, $7 million.
Holy smokes.
Some of the, just some of the details. This doesn't include adjustment for any of the individual property exemptions that people will receive. So the value that the tax rate is calculated on will be a little bit different, a little bit lower than this amount because of those individual personal exemptions that will apply. There were a total of 382 sales that we analyzed in order to come up with the value estimates for the year. There's a summary of the breakdown by neighborhood that will show you the number of transactions that occurred in those neighborhoods, the median ratio, so the midpoint of an array of the assessment divided by the selling price, the coefficient of decision, which is a measure of the performance. If you think about an archery target, it's what circle are you hitting? 10 is pretty good, 15 is acceptable, 20 is getting a little bit out of range. But these are at around 10 to 15. That's pretty good for the accuracy of the valuation. And if you go through that list, you'll see some of the ratios, that's the relationship between the assessed value and market value, are going to be higher or lower. Those are typically in a category where there are only a few observations to measure. So as the sample size gets smaller, then the variability of the result will come through. But overall, this is a consistent trend of increasing values that we've seen over the last 5 years that we've been doing these valuation updates. And it is at 15%. It's certainly a lot less than the 34% increase that the market went through last year. So hopefully there'll be pretty good acceptance within the tax-paying base. I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Go right ahead. Just would point out, I think you, at the end of your presentation, you have a spot where people can get to a link to see what their valuation has changed. Is that correct?
And that is at laconianh.gov, and it's under the assessing tab. And the information is available on the website right now for people to go ahead and look up the assessment on their property. It will show you the last year's assessment and this year's assessment, but it is important to remember that those are not reflective of any exemptions that are granted on the property.
If I may, I just wanted to add, it's actually on the front page of our website under the alerts section, so they don't have to go searching for it. They can get right into it right from the front page of the homepage.
So the timing that typically people would go to vision appraisal to be able to get their, what you might call as your card, right? When do we expect that to be available?
So I think it will be available before the end of this week, if it's not available right now, but it is in process of being updated.
And that is just by going to Laconia. If you search Google Laconia Vision Appraisal, you'll get there.
Correct.
Bless you.
Any other questions for Stephen? Seeing none, thank you for this presentation. Thank you for your work,
Thank
Stephen.
you so much.
Regards, Mrs. Hamilton.
Of course. Goes without saying. Agenda item number 15 is the mayor's report. We'll keep this relatively brief. I just wanted to take the opportunity to congratulate Councilors Cheney, Susi, Haynes, and Felch on your election, and I'm sorry, and Bogart, It's your first election to the city council, so congratulations, welcome. I also like to congratulate Eric Hoffman on his election to Ward 3. I had hoped to also give you all an update on the state school property and what was where we stand with that. Unfortunately, our meeting we were supposed to have last week with the developers didn't take place, and I'm not exactly sure why, but we've made attempts to catch up with the developer, hopefully soon, and we'll be able to give you some form of update right now. The closing was scheduled for September 1st, and then it was postponed to mid-October to mid-November. We are here in mid-November now. I don't know if the closing is going to take place in mid-November or not. I have had good conversations with Commissioner Arlinghouse in Administrative Services. He's couldn't shed much light on it, except to say there were a couple of issues as far as easements on the property that needed to be cleared up, and he thought they were moving along well, and that the governor is telling everybody to get going and close on the deal. So we've maybe a few more questions than we had last week about what's going on and when we can anticipate the closing to take place. But when I have that information, and Kirk has that information as well, we'll certainly make sure to share it at a council meeting. I'll move right along now to council comments and look to councilors to see if you'd like to take this opportunity for comments.
Just quickly, Mayor.
Yes.
The members of the community should be thanked for the number of people that attended Kristallnacht, the day of celebration, well, it's not a celebration, Day of Broken Glass at the synagogue. It was well attended.
Thank you, Mark. Thanks for participating. Any other council comments?
Mr. Mayor, I was hoping I could request that at our next meeting, we might get a report on the request from a number of folks for additional waste containers, garbage cans and stuff, and where we're at. And
Yeah, we're working on it now. Yes.
yeah, well,
Well,
we've been working on it. The other part of that question is, we have a lot of people living in Southdown who pay for their own garbage and whatever, but like all the other taxpayers, pay for the same stuff we all pay for. I'm hoping we could consider providing them with cans if they requested them as well.
So noted, Council Cheney. Any other council comments? Seeing none, how about liaison reports? Any liaison reports this evening? Committee reports, we'll take those as well.
The Finance Committee met prior to this meeting to work on the potential financing of the ambulances and sewer infrastructure. We've been evaluating our options through local banks and through the municipal bond bank. We're looking to schedule a finance committee meeting potentially after the next council meeting, and potentially another one after that subsequent council meeting, depending on whether there is an indication that an additional borrowing amount may be indicated. And so I think we're making good progress in terms of working through our options, and I think once the council votes on the project, we'll be ready to, and in a good position to make the right decision to support that acquisition,
Thank you,
those
Councilor.
acquisitions. So,
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for your work on the Finance Committee, Councilor Lippman.
And we thank the staff too in terms of some of the work they've done, Glenn in particular.
Liaison reports or committee reports? Seeing none, I'd like to move on to agenda item number 19, which is citizens' request to comment on current agenda items. If there's a current agenda item that you'd like to speak to, now would be the appropriate time. Okay, move along to agenda item number 20, which is the city manager's report.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Included in your packet this evening is your financial and operational trends. We always start off with the building construction value, which we know goes to part of the tax cap calculation. It doesn't end until the end of March. We are around where we were 2 years ago, but a little bit behind. So we'll see how the winter and early spring pick up with those numbers. Fire rescue calls continue to be busy. Public assistance data at the bottom of the first page. You'll note that we have gone down 3 months in a row. Not by much, but we have gone down in what we're spending. I know we did have obligations to a few people that were in hotels that have started to come off our dependents. The third line up from the bottom, it talks about reimbursements. The number is obviously very small. Historically, well, not historically, over the last couple of years, because of some of the grant money with COVID and some other opportunity that we've had, we were able to get a little bit more in reimbursements, which we're not going to be seeing come through this year. So that number, although, it looks significantly lower than the last couple of years, and it will most likely continue to stay that way. Police department, again, is busy. As you can see over on the right-hand side, we did start adding in a couple months ago. I just wanted to reiterate not only some totals from last year, but some 10-year average numbers, so you can see where that has stood, a little bit more historical data. Property tax collection and motor vehicle registrations are where we would expect to be at this point. Over time on the next page, we actually have seen a little bit of a decrease in where we were last year at this time. So again, I say it all the time. A lot of that comes with full staffing, makes a difference in the amount of overtime that's being paid out. And our departments, I know, work really hard at trying to keep their recruitment numbers up, and that is one place where we can see that difference. Impact fees are listed there. The only thing I'll say is that we do continue to use these, as I think you all have directed throughout the last year or two, that you want to see those being used, and we continue to use those as much as we can. Reserve balances are relatively unchanged at this point of the year. Top of the next page, the code statistics. The only thing I want to mention on that, and the numbers are in front of you, I'm not going to read them, but one of the things that we have done in a proactive stance is, for a lot of different reasons, we've seen a decrease in the ability for the fire department to do multifamily inspections, which do two things. One, obviously, it's safety, but two, what we're seeing is it gets them out into the public. Whoever's doing those inspections gets them out to some of these buildings, gets them out in the public, allows them to be proactive in finding problems. Partnership between our housing inspector and the fire department inspection services. We now have our housing inspector 3 days a week, 3 half days a week. Instead of being down in with planning, he's with the fire department and working with their deputy of inspections to go to do families. So we're able to do a little bit of work that way, and again, try to be proactive to some of the problems that you're hoping to identify before you get phone calls to say that we need to look things up. So it's been working. It's only been a month, but it's been successful so far. Revenue and expenditures, where we would be expecting to be at this time. And in the bottom, I haven't had a chance to really do much review on it, I'll admit that. The EMS billing history is there. And been working with the chief to try to organize that a little bit differently, though I know we've had this same form for a while. I think we're trying to work on a little bit more easily explainable chart. He's working with the billing company and with me on this.
Thank you. Councilor Lippman.
Does not appear that the net charges for the month expected collections reflect the new rates that were implemented 10/1, and just confirming whether we have our contracts situated so that the new Medicaid ambulance billing rates will be paid to us.
I've had the chief working on that with the billing company. He's not here right now. There was a question back from the billing company, so I don't have the final answer onto it, but it is being worked on with our billing company.
The rates are supposed to, well, the rates do double.
Yeah.
So should be a
Yep.
higher number reflected.
Don't,
there.
we're on it. Yep. And that's all I have for a report, unless there's any questions.
Excellent point. Any other questions for the city manager on the report?
Just a quick one.
Yes.
Kurt, where are we at as far as staffing for our DPW with the winter approaching?
Down. Looks like they're hiring somebody, so I believe they're 5 down at this point. They were able to find a few people where, sidewalk plows, it looks like we've got some people for, which is a good thing. That was an area where we ran into some trouble last year. So we are down.
Okay, thank you. We're gonna move on to agenda item number 21 right now. I would like to let the council know, I would like to go into non-public session at the end of our agenda this evening. Let the public know that when we return from non-public session, it will only be to adjourn the meeting. No new business or even old business will be taken up after we return from non-public session. So, agenda item number 21A, which is temporary traffic order 2023-17, which is the Holiday Parade and Lights Festival and Santa Shuffle, the 5K race, and request to waive city fees. Celebrate Laconia, the organizer of the Holiday Parade and Lights Festival, together with the Downtown Gym, the organizer of the Santa Shuffle 5K race, are requesting the city council's approval of the attached temporary traffic order 2023-17. Both groups will work closely with the police department to ensure the safety of the participants as well as the general public, and we'll have volunteers on hand to assist. Also attached maps, you have attached maps of the holiday parade and the race route for the 5K. Representatives from both Celebrate Laconia and Downtown Gym will be present to answer questions from the council and provide additional information. So the council now will be asked to consider waiving all city fees associated with this annual event. Right now, I'd be looking for a motion to move to approve temporary traffic order 2023-17 for the Holiday Parade and Lights Festival and Santa Shuffle 5K race to be held on November 25th as presented, and to approve the request to waive all city fees associated with the event. So made by Councilor Felch. Is there a second? Councilor Susie, excuse me. Is there any further discussion on this motion? Councilor Felch, excuse me.
Yeah, I just want to thank Celebrate Laconia for putting this on and doing everything else that they do, so that's it.
I'll second that. Councilor Bogert.
Just curious, what are waiving all the city fees? What is that made up of? Because I noticed there's also vendors and stuff. We're not waiving the vendor fees or anything, are we?
We'll push that right off onto the city
Correct.
manager.
No, this is just the fees for them, for the Celebrate Laconia parade part of the event.
Vendor fees will still be charged to vendors coming into the city?
Yes, that's how we usually do it.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Seeing none, all those in favor of the motion, please indicate by raising your hands. It's 6 votes in the affirmative. That motion passes. Thank you. Moving on to item number 21B, which is a request to use impact fees to fund site work at Pleasant Street School. Laconia School District is requesting the use of impact fees in the amount of $102,500 to complete necessary site work at Pleasant Street School. This site work is in preparation for playground updates and improvements. Funds are available within the school district's impact fee account for this purpose. The balance in the account is $153,001.97. Approval of this request will reduce that available balance by $102,500 to $50,501.97. This was submitted and recommended to accept this by Kirk Beata, the city manager. So I do see that the superintendent is with us tonight. If anyone has any questions for him, perhaps after we have the motion in the second. So right now, I'd be looking for a motion to move to approve the use of impact fees in the amount of $102,500 to fund the site work necessary at Pleasant Street School as proposed, subject to school board approval. So made by Councilor Bogert, second by Councilor Haynes. Is there any further discussion councilors would like to have at this point? Councilor Cheney.
Could we just get a quick explanation of what the site work is?
Yeah, absolutely. Welcome.
Thank you for letting me be here tonight. So the site work at Pleasant Street School involves adding some fill to the very back of the school site that will allow us to put some playground equipment there, remove some trees, and then we also have another site by a shed in the back that we need to, in order to make the playground project happen, to take out some trees and put some fill there.
So this is not anything to do with the parking and maneuvering that we're concerned with?
Nothing to do with that, sir.
Okay. We don't have a traffic problem out front at Pleasant Street, correct?
They did.
That's Elm.
Is the one that we've talked about. There are times, I think, where there is some traffic. If there's a school event, like there's going to be a Thanksgiving dinner.
Sure.
But generally, the traffic is in and out of Pleasant Street School in a fairly timely manner.
Good, thank you.
Any other questions or discussion on the motion? Thank you, Superintendent.
Thank you.
So if there are no questions or further discussion, all those in favor, please indicate by raising your hands. It's 6 votes in the affirmative, and that motion passes. Item number 21C, request from the Weirs Action Committee to use Endicott Rock parking lot for the Laconia Motorcycle Week parking from June 8th, 2024 through June 16th, 2024, and to waive all special event fees in connection with the requested use. Weirs Action Committee has requested the use of Endicott Rock parking lot for the Laconia Motorcycle Week from June 8th to June 16th, 2024, from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. This request was approved by the Parks and Recreation Commission at their September 18th, 2023 meeting. The Weirs Action Committee is also requesting that all special event fees in connection with the event be waived. Staff recommendation is that this request be approved. The Parks and Recreation Committee approve this request conditioned upon further approval from the City Council. Right now, I'll be looking for a motion to move to approve the request by the Weirs Action Committee to use Endicott parking lot for Laconia Motorcycle Week parking from June 8th, 2024 through June 16th, 2024, and to waive all special event fees in connection with the requested use. So made by Councilor Cheney, seconded by Councilor Susie. Okay? Oh, sorry. Any further question or on this matter? Councilor Bogert?
No, I don't have.
Okay. If there are no further questions or discussion on this matter, all those in favor, please indicate by raising your hand. 6 votes in the affirmative, that motion passes. Item number 21D, Resolution 2023-32, request to accept and expand a New Hampshire Endowment for Health grant in the amount of $20,000 for the Laconia Human Relations Committee. I see we have Patrick Wood in the audience. If there are any questions at that point, I assume you're here on that matter, be available to discuss. Thank you. New Hampshire Endowment for Health, as part of its Project Trust Making Community Engagement Initiative Phase 2, is making a $20,000 grant available to the City of Laconia Human Relations Committee. The grant would assist the Human Relations Committee create community gatherings and conversations around differences such as racial, ethnic, ability, disability, socioeconomic, or political differences. The goal of these gatherings and conversations would be to build and enhance greater trust among the citizens of Laconia and the state of New Hampshire. The application for this grant must be filed before the end of 2023, and the funds would be available in 2024. There are no matching funds required. Staff recommends moving this grant acceptance to a public hearing on November 27th, 2023. So there are a series of 3 motions here. The first is to move to waive a reading of Resolution 2023-32 in its entirety and to read by title only, so made by Councilor Cheney, seconded by Councilor Susie. Is there any further discussion on this matter? Seeing none, all those in favor, please indicate by raising your hands. It's 6 votes in the affirmative, and that motion passes. You quick trigger finger there.
Yes, sir, I apologize.
Second, we're looking for, to move a first reading of Resolution 2023-32 relative to the application and acceptance of a New Hampshire Endowment for Health grant in the amount of $20,000 for the Laconia Human Relations Committee. So made by Councilor Felch, seconded by Councilor Haynes. Is there any further discussion on this motion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please indicate by raising your hands. That's 6 votes in the affirmative, and that motion passes. And finally, on this matter, looking to move to schedule a public hearing on November 27th, 2023, during the regular council meeting to gather public input prior to adoption of Resolution 2023-32, so made by Councilor Phelps, seconded by Councilor Susie. Is there any further discussion on this matter?
Yes, Mayor. I would just like to, I've attended a couple of their meetings, great work, and that's well It should be, they should be complimented for that.
Thank you.
Can I just add to that, Mr. Mayor? I
Please
was
do.
here, I think earlier this week, or it may have been last week. It was a substantial group in here. And so I asked Pat and others what was going on, and found out it was this group. I was shocked at the number of people who were here, pleasantly shocked at the number of people who were participating. And I think the efforts that the committee has made to push this along has impressed me, which is, they're worth our efforts to help with this.
Thank you, Councilor Cheney. I also think it's noteworthy that Laconia Human Relations Committee was selected as one of 5 throughout the, to receive this grant, so they must be
And you-
distinguishing in themselves.
And you can see why when you see the number of people that they can get to attend these meetings.
Thank you. Is there any further discussion on this matter? Seeing none, all those in favor, please indicate by raising your hand. 6 votes in the affirmative, and that motion passes. Item number 21E, Laconia Concord commuter bus route. Kirk, I'll let you lead just a little bit on this, since I know you've been working on it and have some information for us.
Thank you, and I'll just let you know, we do have representation from CAP here, who are the architects of the plan, if you have questions or would like to bring them up for, for any comments. So what has been designed over the course of the last, I was gonna say few months, but it's probably been closer to a year that we've been talking about this. They're working on a commuter bus program out of Concord that would go Concord, the Pennacook, Boston, Franklin, Tilton, and back that way, as a workforce, movement of workforce people who just don't have vehicles to be able to go back and forth. We've talked about workforce, we've talked about medical appointments, as to increase public transportation. They are looking at a stop. I think they've already secured a stop here in Laconia up at the hospital, but they were looking for one downtown. We were going to try to work with a couple of our private parking lots to see if that was going to work, and for different reasons, it just sort of fell through. The other location that was identified as a potential is behind our lot on Church Street, behind the church. And before this was just brought up, we wanted to make sure it was, brought not only to your attention and for your comment, but to be able to have their representation be able to talk to you, to answer questions if there's any concerns or what you'd be looking for in this. The piece that we have discussed is that we're not assuming there's going to be a large amount of parking issues, because if people were going to be leaving their cars, they most likely would be driving them to where they need to go. So that's that is the 30,000-foot view of why we're here. And like I said, be either between us, myself, or them. I think they can answer any questions you may have.
Councilor Susie, go right ahead.
Isn't there another bus that already operates? I read a couple of articles in the paper here and there.
It is a bus that is in, by appointment, so, you would call them, it's more of a shuttle service.
Oh, okay.
So if you need to go to doctor's appointments or, that's really the big one. I hate to say that one, but that's really the big one. They will pick you up and
There was
bring
one
you
from
around.
Manchester that came up.
No,
Okay.
no.
Did you say it was your bus? Is that it?
I don't even want to ask for information on that. I know better. Would you like to say a few words on this matter? Please welcome.
I was just going to say, thanks for having us. I'm Terry Page, and I'm the Transportation Director for the Community Action Program. And this is a brand-new initiative. We got funding actually through the New Hampshire Department of Transportation to do this expansion route, which was a study. The study's been in place for over 5 years now, and this was one of the recommended routes in the study. And we also have some funding from Merrimack County to get it launched as a sort of a pilot shot for the program. And we're just waiting to get another driver on board and get the final stops solidified so we can get some schedules out, and we'll be ready to roll. So we just wanted to check with you guys to make sure you all knew what was going on and had any questions for us, and I'm happy to answer them anytime.
Who will this primarily serve?
Anybody who wants to get on the bus, basically. It's definitely pegged as a commuter run because we make very few stops. So it's truly to get a workforce from one point to another point. Merrimack County was very excited about doing this for us and gave us some funding through their ARPA funds, primarily to get folks to the county complex for employment and to the Franklin Industrial Park. There's some large employers there who are very anxious to get workforce from Concord up into that area for folks to work in those facilities. That was sort of the driving force behind us getting it launched. And then we are trying to make sure that folks have the access that they need to all parts of this part of the state, truly. So we have a lot of folks who are traveling back and forth now between Concord Hospital campuses. They're sending people everywhere for appointments. So we have people coming from Concord that need to go to Laconia, and from Laconia that need to go to Concord. And we're seeing that a lot with our volunteer driver program particularly. We're also hearing from a lot of residents that they'd like to get to different shopping venues as opposed to what's available here in Laconia. So we have a small group of folks that are really anxious to have that happen. Yeah, it's truly a public bus service, so whoever wants to get on can get on.
Council Bogert.
Is this a for-fee service, or is it a free service?
So right now, all of our transportation services are fare-free. We were able to operate that way during the pandemic when we received some of the COVID relief funds. I used that to be able to make all of the services fare-free. And since then, I've been truly lucky enough to be able to land some additional grant funds that have been able to allow us to keep it fare-free going forward. Between the rebound from COVID numbers and the fact that we are fare-free, we actually increased our ridership last year by over 60,000 rides across all of the services. And for our 5311 program, which is a fixed route bus in Concord, and this service will actually be 5311 funded as well. Because we had that increase in rides, we recently were successful in lobbying to get additional state match for operating into the state budget. And we got an increase in that match that'll be coming to us of over $60,000 because our rides increased so much, so, yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you guys very much. I appreciate you having us, and we're always here if you have any questions. Like Kurt has all my information, so just reach out. Thanks.
So right now, we're looking for a motion to approve the use of the city-owned parking lot on Church Street as a pickup and drop-off location for commuters using the proposed Laconia Concord commuter bus. So made by Councilor Felch, seconded by Councilor Haynes. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please indicate by raising your hands. It's 6 votes in the affirmative, and that motion passes. Item number 21F. Resolution 2023-30 relative to approval of bonding for the purpose of purchasing 2 replacement ambulances. During the fiscal year 24 budget development process, the council discussed the need to replace 2 ambulances, which are nearing the end of their useful life. The fire chief was instructed to solicit bids for replacement ambulances that would meet the EMS needs of the city and its residents. Chief Joubert has completed his review through a competitive bid process and has recommended that the city acquire 2 Horton Class 1 Type 1 ambulances configured to meet city specifications from the firm of Greenwood Emergency Vehicles. Fiscal impact. The proposed expenditure is not included in the fiscal year 24 budget approved on June 27, 2023. Adoption of the accompanying resolution will increase authorized spending in the amount of $981,262, with funding to be provided through bonding. The exact interest cost is dependent on interest rates at the time of issuance. Current estimates are that that interest rates at the time the bond is issued will be approximately 3%. Using this rate, the interest cost over the life of the bond is estimated to be $161,908, over the 10-year term of the bond and $29,438 in fiscal year '24. City manager recommends approving this resolution authorizing bonding for the purpose of purchasing 2 ambulances as proposed. Is there anything you'd like to discuss? Thank you.
So, I think since the resolution was originally drafted, the interest rate environment is a little less favorable than this. But it remains to be seen what it is. It's probably closer in the mid-4s at this point. That being said, I think the other thing to recognize is that the delivery of these ambulances will probably not hit our budget until 25, 26 timeframe. And so that we're looking potentially at issuing the bonds. There's 2 pieces to this bond. One is related to the sewer infrastructure. The other part is related to these ambulances. But I just wanted to make it clear that it would be a little bit more than what's shown here in terms of the interest costs. Part of our discussion about the borrowing as well as any supplemental additional amount is related to whether it makes sense to and how it fits into our tax cap calculation. We're very careful to make sure that we're not overextending ourselves. I think when you look at our, one of the things we did look at tonight was how our interest expense and debt service looked as a percentage of the allowed amount under state law. We're at a low point with both the school and the city in terms of more recent times. Just to give people a sense of it, we're 2022, the latest numbers we have in front of us, about 31.1% when you combine the school and the city of our legal debt limit. And we were much higher if you go back even last year. We were at about 40.6%. So we're seeing debt fall off of our amortization schedule, and so strategically thinking about when to do things. That's why the committee is looking at these projects as well as potentially some others.
Thank you, Councilor Lippman. So we have a series of 3 motions this evening. First, to move a waiver reading of Resolution 2023-30 in its entirety and to read by title only, so made by Councilor Cheney, seconded by Councilor Susie. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please indicate by raising your hands. It's 6 votes in the affirmative, that motion passes. Next, we're looking to move a first reading of Resolution 2023-30 relative to approval of bonding for the purpose of purchasing 2 replacement ambulances. So made by Councilor Phelps, seconded by Councilor Bogert. Is there any further discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please indicate by raising your hand. 6 votes in the affirmative, that motion passes. And finally, looking to move to schedule a public hearing on November 27, 2023, during the regular city council meeting to gather public input prior to any action being taken. So made by Councilor Susie, seconded by Councilor Phelps. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please indicate by raising your hands. That's 6 votes in the affirmative, and that motion passes. Moving on to item number 22, an unfinished business. Agenda item 22A. Resolution 2023-31 declaring city-owned property at tax map 407/247/35 as surplus property. Kirk, could you lead us through that a bit?
Absolutely. We have a piece of property up at 42 Woodland Ave, excuse me, that the neighbor has just purchased the house next to this vacant lot. This vacant lot's been used essentially as a driveway for this property for many, many years, but it's our property. We do have a water line that goes underneath it. So we did have this unsolicited request. We are having it surveyed at this point now. We're looking to make this surplus property so we can sell it to the neighbor. They would end up merging the lots into one lot, giving us the easement as we need for that, for the water line, which in that neighborhood, pretty much every property through there has water lines running through their backyards and side yards, and so it's nothing new that we're working on. So we're looking to make this surplus and allowing me to negotiate with a sale price and any associated fees that go along, because I know we've discussed some surveying that the water department's been doing, so we're dealing with all that, so make it surplus and then ability to make the sale.
Hello, go right ahead.
Hello. Living in that neighborhood, I can tell you that it's the best use of the property at this point. From the water commission situation, we support that. And all we want to make sure, I know we've talked with Kurt, there's a cost of surveying, I believe is around $7,000 or so. Make sure that's included into the sale price, so that and the city itself, and the easement that we've talked about will allow us to take care of things there. We have to look at the example right across the street and down the bottom of that street. We have to replace the water lines next year because they're almost many years old. I mean, one of the oldest in the city. So it's a good move.
Thank you, Counselor Susie. Thank you, Kirk. Any discussion before we get into the motions on this? Seeing none. First motion is looking to move a waiver reading of Resolution 2023-31 in its entirety to read by title only, so made by Counselor Susie, seconded by Counselor Cheney. Any further discussion? Seeing none. All those in favor, please indicate by raising your hand. 6 votes in the affirmative. Next, looking to move a second reading of Resolution 2023-31, declaring city-owned property at tax map 407/247/35 as surplus property. So made by Counselor Susie, seconded by Counselor Cheney. Any further discussion on this motion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please indicate by raising your hands. The 6 votes in the affirmative, that motion passes. Finally, on this matter, looking to move to approve Resolution 2023-31, relative to declaring city-owned property at tax map 407/247/35 as surplus property, and authorize the city manager to move forward with this matter and to sign all related documents. So made by Counselor Susie, seconded by Counselor Cheney. Is there any further discussion on this matter? Seeing none, all those in favor, please indicate by raising your hands. 6 votes in the affirmative, and that motion passes. Item number 22B, the Community Power Coalition of New Hampshire. September 11th, 2023, a representative from Community Power Coalition of New Hampshire provided an initial presentation to the City Council, inviting the city to become a member of the nonprofit coalition. The topic was again included in the Council's October 23rd agenda. For further discussion, a recommendation was made at that meeting to schedule a public hearing. Right now, I'm looking for a motion to move to schedule a public hearing on November 27, 2023, during the regular City Council meeting to gather public input regarding joining the Community Power Coalition of New Hampshire prior to any action being taken. So made by Counselor Felch, seconded by Counselor Cheney. Is there any further discussion? Why did we not do it that night?
I don't know, and I may be adding an extra step, but I just want to make sure we're doing it correctly and getting it
no problem.
noticed correctly, and,
No finger pointing, okay, I just wondered why we didn't do it. That seems odd.
I think we wanted to make sure that people had time to absorb it and that there wasn't
Okay.
a rush job. It was that, just let it breathe a little bit.
Fair enough. It's now ripe. We're ready for a public hearing. All right. Any further discussion on this? Everyone in favor, please raise your hand. 6 votes in the affirmative. Motion passes. Thanks. Item number 22B, 22C. Proposal to increase transfer station fees due to increase in disposal costs. As you know, this has been a matter that's come up a couple of times. Go right ahead.
I'm in favor of moving this along, but we had talked about wanting to have a breakdown of the costs, components that build up to be the total costs that we're setting the fee for, and we still don't have that information here tonight, and so I guess I'd ask that we table it and get the build up to the cost that's represented in the chart on page 2 of the document that we have. That's what I'm suggesting tonight.
I'll second the table.
That's non-debatable.
Actually, we don't have to, it's already on the table.
Okay, then leave it on the table.
I'm gonna leave it on the table, and I think this is a topic that we have had some, I thought maybe it would be included in tonight's packet, and that's, we don't have the spreadsheet that we're working off of, do we?
No, we do not.
And that's, I should have picked
That
up on
was-
this, and I did
Yeah,
not.
I should have.
And this should be provided to the council. we have had these discussions, Kirk and I have been meeting and discussing this. And it's not here, and it should be. I will say this, anyway, it's on the table, doesn't make a difference, we'll bring it back again, sorry. Don't need to say a darn thing, it's not here. Okay. Item number 22D. Resolution 2023-17, request to submit a grant application on behalf of the Lakes Region Community Developers relating to the demolition of a dilapidated building at 1719 Bay Street. Through its Invest NH program, the New Hampshire Department of Business and Economic Affairs provides funds to municipalities for the demolition of vacant or dilapidated buildings as part of larger community revitalization strategies that will positively impact the current housing shortage in New Hampshire. In February 2022, the residence at 1719 Bay Street was rendered uninhabitable due to fire. The building has been vacant since that time. We are all very familiar with this situation and this area of Bay Street. Did we table this as well? So the
Yes.
first motion is it
It's
has
on
to
the
come
table.
off the table. So it's been on the table. As we know, the planning board approved this project by a vote of 7-1 last Monday night. And so this comes back on our agenda because this is the ARPA funds that present the opportunity to remediate the property. Counselor Felch, motion to take it off the table. Is there a second?
I second it.
Counselor Littman, is there any further discussion on this? I don't think you'd have a discussion if it comes off the table. It's not debatable, but all those in favor of taking it off the table, please indicate by raising your hands. It's 6 votes in the affirmative, the motion's off the table. So, now it's a matter of the council acting as to whether we should take advantage of the opportunity to use the funds. So is there a motion?
We have to move to.
You have three
So-
motions
we
in
have
front of
three
you.
motions
Okay.
To waive the reading.
So all right. So, right now, I'll be looking for a motion to waive the reading of Resolution 2023-17 in its entirety, to read by title only. So made by Counselor Felch, seconded by Counselor Cheney. Is there any further discussion on this particular motion? Seeing none, all those in favor of this motion, please indicate by raising your hand. 6 votes in the affirmative. Next, looking for a motion to move a second reading of Resolution 2023-17, relative to authorizing the city manager to submit a grant application on behalf of the Lakes Region Community Developers and to accept and expend the grant in an amount of $60,000 relating to the demolition of a dilapidated building at 1719 Bay Street. So made by Counselor Felch, seconded by Counselor Haynes. Is there any further discussion on this motion?
I do have a question.
Please go right ahead.
Since it was tabled at the meeting, whatever date that was, do we need to have a public hearing on this?
I don't believe there's a public hearing on this. I don't think there's
You've
it's a
had your public
necessity.
hearing, that you just haven't, you haven't made the decision if you want to move forward with it.
I think we did have public.
We did
input
have
on
a
that,
public
didn't we? Yeah. Any further discussion on this particular motion? All those in favor, please indicate by raising your hands. That's 6 votes in the affirmative, and that motion passes. And finally, on this matter, looking to move to approve Resolution 2023-17, request to submit a grant application on behalf of the Lakes Region Community Developers and to accept and expend the grant in an amount of $60,000 relating to the demolition of a dilapidated building at 1719 Bay Street as presented, and to authorize the city manager to sign all documents related to this matter. So made by Counselor Felch, seconded by Counselor Haynes. Is there any further discussion on this? Seeing none, all those in favor, please indicate by raising your hands. 6 votes in the affirmative, and that motion passes. Thank you. So that concludes our agenda, our public agenda this evening. Would be looking for a motion to go into non-public session under RSA 91A:3, Roman 2. Consideration of the acquisition, sale, or lease of real personal property, which, if discussed in public, would likely benefit a party or parties whose interests are adverse to those of the general community. So made by Counselor Haynes, seconded by Counselor Bogart. Is this a roll call? Always have to ask that. I'm just never going to get it right.
Counselor Cheney?
Yes.
Counselor Susie?
Yes.
Counselor Littman?
Yes.
Counselor Haynes?
Yes.
Counselor Bogart?
Yes.
Counselor Felch?
Yes. That's 6 votes in the affirmative. We're now going into non-public session. I would ask that the chamber, but for Warren Clement, at least for the initial part of the discussion, be cleared. Thank you, Patrick.
Good night, Patrick.